You ready?
Yeah.
All right, my name's Tom Freeman. Hi.
Somebody's coming. Yes, try.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing this presentation in the Portsmouth Free Library. It's 6:30 on May the 23rd, so I'll be doing it again. Okay, so this is Underwater Adventures, Newport to Tahiti in comparison. And my girlfriend actually did the PowerPoint presentation. I haven't done the presentation in a while. I used to do them every day. Matter of fact, on Fridays, each one of our branch people had to do a presentation. That was a requirement. And we took all the academics for doing presentations. Okay. So, certified diver at 11. Basically, I was on a swim team at the Newport Boys Club. I learned to swim at 11. My brother was a lifeguard at Newport Beach, the first black lifeguard, and he kind of got me into an incident where I had to do a frog swim to get away from him. And that's how I learned to swim. I did the frog kick. And in the boys club, you had to swim the width and the length of the pool to go to the deep end and jump off the diving board they had at the time. So that was a big thing. So people would line up and I'd be the slow guy because I'm doing the dog paddle. I eventually outreached my hands and got really good at swimming. And this guy named Al, I don't remember his name, he had dive classes after that. And I said, Al, can I do that? He says, yes. The only requirement was that I couldn't be certified, so I was 12, but I could do everything else up until then. And so I got it. My father dropped me off at Ocean Drive when I did the ocean dive. There was only one dive required. It was in the middle of December. It was 41 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
So I had the car warmed up. And so when I got out of the water, I turned into an icicle, and it was mainly the wind. It wasn't the water. The wind made it colder in February, or December and February. Everybody's familiar with Rhode Island. And luckily the car warmed up enough, and you know, I changed right there because the key thing when you're diving in cold water is to get dry. Okay, I learned that for my Arctic adventure. We had to do training in the Navy SEALs in what's called SEER school, Survival, Escape, and Invasion. We did it in Rangeley, Maine, and they gave us all their knowledge. So about 20,000 lifetime dives. A lot of that was training students. About 5,000 to 6,000 of those dives were off Kings Beach or Jamestown, Fort Withrow, or Fort Adams. Those are very popular dive sites for a lot of reasons. They're very safe. The ocean is facing south, so you get all the effects of winds and currents and all that good stuff. So I created a Bubbles Dive Center. It was a long process. I actually started out working for Ocean State Scuba over in Jamestown when they were on Narragansett Avenue, and then when they changed to the other location, I can't remember the name of that street, and the ownership changed, and there was an infamous incident that happened with the owner of Jamestown Scuba. He basically drowned his wife to get the money.
Wow.
So, long story. And when I actually found out about the incident, I was diving and he was right next to me, getting ready to do a dive. And they claimed he was a sociopath because when I kind of mentioned it in a light way, he didn't seem to faze him. And this was his wife, right? That's who he had a kid with. So
Not good.
it was not a good sign. And I knew him for a long time too, so it was very, very strange. So I worked for them for a while. I wasn't getting enough work. And this all started out because I watched Jacques Cousteau, the Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau, and I was very fascinated by it. There was a dive shop called Viking Dive Shop. I think of the owner's name. His son, Larry was his first name, Sylvia was his last name, and his wife worked with him, and then his son took over the business when they moved out to Middletown for a little while. I used to walk by that shop coming out of the boys club all the time, and I'd go in there and look at the equipment. I was fascinated by it. I was taking the lessons, and I bought a few quick pieces of equipment. There was also an undersea museum that was located where there's a British retail store on Spring Street. They had submarines and stuff this guy had captured. You could go in there for like $5, and it had Jacques Cousteau going on. So the fever for diving was like really good. It actually made me want to make a career choice into oceanography because there was no money really in diving except commercial diving. So I wanted to be an oceanographer originally, but there's a long story how I turned into electronics. But I got to do oceanography working for the Navy, some of the stuff we did. So I started working for Alpine for a while, and then the same thing, I wasn't getting enough work. They had no classroom space, so I used my kitchen for a classroom, then I could use my basement, and then it just grew and grew over a long plus I'm working a job, got married, had a kid. And I also teach, when you become an instructor, you usually have the same qualifications as any instructors, like coming out of college or high school. And I knew I wanted to advance more than that, so I took a lot of specialty classes because I knew those are the things that would drive more students, and it did. And I got the 40 specialties: cave diving, photography, underwater archaeology. I don't know if you heard of a woman named Dr. Kathy Abbas. She runs RIMAT, Rhode Island Marine Archaeology Project. They've been looking for a captain to cook ship, which I worked for her as a volunteer, and she used to give us cookies, which was great. That was our payment. She made great cookies. So me and a guy named Hoagland, who just passed away about 4 months ago, a real good friend, we worked for her, mapping the wrecks, okay? But when I first got into it, I did spearfishing, got food, and then I was always taking photos. My father, when I was young, about 8 years old, said, "Do you believe in Santa?" And I said, "Dad, me and my siblings, 2 brothers and sisters, we haven't believed in Santa for a long time. We don't have a chimney, and the gifts keep showing up." So he laughed, and he says, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna just get you pajamas and stuff like your mother and grandmother give you that you don't use." And I just started wearing pajamas about 10 years ago. They said, "What would you like?" And I said, "A camera." So he got me an Instamatic camera, which I still have, 110 film. Everything that I've been given as a gift, I've kept, and that was one of them. So, basically, open water instructor. I'm basically a PhD of divers, so I can teach instructors, right? 40 specialties. You must be CPR and AED certified. I actually enhanced that when I was living in Manassas, Virginia, in support of the Navy, working at the Navy headquarters in Arlington at the time. Now it's at the Navy Yard in DC. I joined the fire department with the purpose of continuing my CPR, AED, and I wanted to be, and I actually wanted to get my paramedic training, and then I could work a pressurized chamber. That's what I wanted to be able to do. So I got pretty close. Getting a paramedic is a lot of hours. Even the EMT took a while. It took several months to get that. So, and paramedic, you must also work in a hospital, and that takes a lot of time. As an EMT, I had to do 10 hours, and I actually did 5 in Spotsylvania, which are a couple of incidences there of a woman that got murdered and stuff like that. It was very in the news, and it was a big battle in the Civil War. And it's a really interesting place because all these so-called war trophy museums are around the store. They basically go in with metal detectors illegally on federal land and dig up stuff and sell it to the public. They're not supposed to do that. But it's very eerie. I'm not a superstitious person, but the Battle of Spotsylvania, it's a forested area, and they kill a lot of each other, and you go in there and you just feel presence. I don't know how to say it, but I did the training at the hospital, 5 hours there. I worked with their emergency department.
Was that Spotsville?
Spotsylvania.
Spotsylvania.
Yeah,
Thank you.
in Virginia. And so we had to sort out people. It's a method of medical people use. When it's a mass casualty, they look for the victim with the most injuries that they need to treat. Triage, we call it triage.
Okay.
So we had to look at people's ankles, see if they're swollen. So that's a basically diabetic type thing. So boom, in. And the nurse was really cool. She said, "Well, you're here at Father's Day, and this is what you're going to see traditionally. Traditionally, fathers have heart attacks, or grandfathers, because they go see their grandkids, they get all excited, and you can see a lot of heart attacks. That's traditionally around Thanksgiving, that time. So she told us all the traditional historical things that you would see. So there was some very interesting stuff that we saw, and I won't go into that. That was very interesting, and she was right. That's what we kind of saw. So I did a couple of years with the fire department. So commercial diving, I did shell fishing, lobsters. We did that every other day, 25-foot boat. Zinc replacement, photographs, recovering stuff. And I got certified through the city harbor master to inspect boats and moorings, basically, looking for damage and stuff. Did a lot of volunteer work, Save the Bay, eelgrass replacement, cleaning the shoreline, getting rid of invasive stuff in Barrington, things of that nature. Audubon Society, we did with ocean access, we counted trash, get a trash count, because that goes to the legislator. It's easy to say we got a lot of trash, but when you say we got 20 tons of it, that's a statistic you can use, like with the bottles. I hate those bottles. So they gather them up. I'm trying to think of the legislator that I kind of work with. And we had all those mini bottles that
For
I
those
hate.
plastic bottles.
Yeah, and we piled them up, and you saw how many of those bottles were being generated. And I actually was there, and when she was up at the Empire Tea talking to some people, some of them were lobbyists, and they make about 40% of their profit in the liquor industry with those bottles. So they don't want to get rid of them. So.
And I think it's Dawn Ewer, or
Yes,
yes,
yeah.
she's amazing. She fights for
And
people.
exploration. I originally did diving because I saw Jacques Cousteau doing exploration. I said, I want to do that, but how do I afford it? So I became an instructor. Then I realized I'm so busy teaching, I can't do what I wanted to do in the first thing, and I kept expanding. So I never got to where I really wanted to just explore, because all the explorers I know who do it full time, they need sources of money.
Yeah.
Right? So here it is, many years later, and I told you I did this cross the thing, that was an across the bay exploration, and I'm getting back to it, finally.
Yay. That's great. Yeah, you're getting your dream back.
So some of these pictures, this is St. Martin's. It has a protected reef area. You see me going over a little, this is like a cavern dive. A cavern dive is considered, you can still see natural light and you use artificial light. That's considered a cavern. A cave is no natural light from the sun, where you have to be fully artificial. So that's the difference between a cave and a cavern. So there is a technical term there. So scuba, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. It's air that you're breathing. It's not an oxygen tank. It's the same air you're breathing right now. It contains 78% nitrogen. That's a bad gas, but you need it as a counter pressure in your lungs. And it's 21% oxygen. What we call that in physics and every other chemistry, it's air. It's not oxygen. Okay? So when you see that on TV, they mispronounce it like they do every specialty that you could see. It's an air tank, not an oxygen tank. Okay? Okay, visibility is usually considered vertical or horizontal when you see distances. Right now, if you go to Elm Street Pier, Rhode Island, you've got about 20 feet of visibility. That's pretty good, vertical. What happens is with plankton and zooplankton, these little teeny creatures come in as the temperatures rise. Right now, you're getting moon jellyfish all over the place. That's the water temperature rising. Comes from the Gulf of Mexico, wraps around Florida, goes all the way up the coast, off Maine, and it actually ends up in Norway. At 100 feet, you can see tropical fish in Norway.
It's amazing.
Okay? All right. It's considered open circuit. When you breathe it, it exhausts out, versus closed circuit, like a rebreather, which is one of my next training event that I'll be doing, the last of diving. Okay? You have different bottom types, right? We have sandy, rocky. Sandy, if it's white, it's going to reflect the light. So that's what you see in some tropical areas. Here we have plant matter in the water, so the water's green. If you put a green plant in a little clear cup of water, it's going to look green. That's why it looks green. It's not dirty. It's the color of the plant life. And plant life is good because plant life provides habitat. Habitat means fisheries. So fisheries, the largest fishery in the world is New Bedford. They capture more fish than anywhere else. It's because of Georges Banks, which is rich with all types of plants, matter. You go to the tropics, they have coral. We actually have soft coral. They have hard coral. It takes about 100 years to grow an inch. So in Australia, which I did half the Great Barrier Reef, you have coral that are 200 feet deep in some cases, where the light penetrates 200 feet deep. So remember, about an inch every 100 years or so. So that's a long growth cycle. So remember that, okay?
What is the coral we have here? It's not very common.
We have soft coral. It's called soft coral.
I find it's old. I can find little pieces. It's not that common.
Yep. It's different types. So these are the bottom types. It's important. It's important for boaters too. So some of the places I've been to: St. Martin, St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, Carousel, Bermuda, Brazil. Not Brazil. I did dive in Trinidad, but not Brazil. Trinidad, Caicos, Grand Cayman, Australia, Mexico, Japan, French Polynesia, did several dives there, Canada, the St. Lawrence Seaway, West Coast, East Coast, South, North, rivers, caves, you know, you get bored. So, anybody tell me
Have you done the
where?
Gulf of America? Have you done the Gulf of America down there?
Yes, off the oil rigs.
Yeah.
When we went to Iceland, we took our kids to
The split the
snorkel
contents.
through the Teutonic plates.
Yes,
don't know
I
if
was
you've
going to
done
dive
that.
there. I actually had a dive set up. I'm certified dry suit trainer.
Yeah, that's what.
And I did everything. We paid for it. And like there's a person who's a cave diver, Jill Harbler. She's an explorer. She's like the gentleman out there that passed away. She's the best diver in the world. And she said, you know, it's kind of like a tourist thing. And it took her 10 years to finally decided to do it. Another person named Bernie, I forgot Bernie's last name, I just went to a presentation beneath the sea in Secaucus, New Jersey, and he's another world-class diver. And he had the same things. It's not a very, I mean, you're diving between a split in the earth. And when you cave dive in Florida, you actually are in fissures.
Which I just thought with your qualifications, maybe privately, I mean, you
No, I
and
signed
people
up for
could
a
do it as opposed
commercial-
to our kids who,
Yeah,
They
I
were
signed up for
swimmers that
commercial
you were
plays.
on, but they
I
weren't-
showed them my qualifications, all that stuff. I was going to do it, and in the last minute, it's kind of a hokey dive. You know, I'm diving on a split, and I've already done caves.
yeah,
So I probably will be like Jill. I'll eventually do it just to say I did it.
and maybe privately without
Yeah.
people,
The tourist
regular
thing.
folks that don't.
So on the left is a sea robin, commonly. This is done on Fort Witherell, and on the right is the jellies. Those are typically you'll see them in the water. Okay. Okay. I went backwards. So here's a good lobster. When I teach night diving, I have my Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management lobster license, so I can catch up to so many a day. When we do the skills, it's like 20 minutes to do the skills, and there's not much else to do after that in the night dive. So I usually legally let the student catch a lobster for dinner, if we can catch one. So that's where that picture came from.
That's
This
cool.
is actually a postcard. So that's what a lobster is. Okay, on the right, that's Kings Beach, Ocean Drive, not Kings Park on Wellington. And that's a blood star. See the starfish?
Yeah.
It's a blood star. And there's some of your sponge it's attached to. That's a sponge, an orange sponge. You see that's orange and brown typically around here.
Yeah.
And you can see it's not too bad, but what happens, like the Christmas ornament that you shake, that makes those little flakes, when the zooplankton and the zooplankton and the plankton come up, it starts looking like that. And when you take a picture with a camera, see that very expensive housing over there? This is where I spent all my money. This is a port for wide angle picture so you can get really close,
Wow.
right? This is machined. So a lot of money to machine this,
Yeah.
okay? And these go obsolete. When that Nikon 100 goes obsolete, this goes obsolete too.
Yeah.
So this is $5,000,
Whoa.
right? And then you buy the light attachments, add another couple thousand, so you're around 7,000.
Yeah.
And then your camera, whatever it costs. Now remember, anything in the water gets wet. Anything, including this. So you can flood it very easily. So you just lost like $9,000
Wow.
because salt water is corrosive.
Right.
Okay? And this I use for night diving and cave diving. You want your hands free.
Yeah.
So you have lights in this configuration. So this is great for lobstering because I have my two hands free. I have a gauge with a gauge attached to a light, so that I'm not trying to gauge and have a light and try to measure it. The gauge and the light are connected, and I just put it up against the eye socket to the back, and if it's good, into the bag. Okay. So this is a cave because you have prominences that come down, and you can hit your head and be knocked unconscious. If I'm working underneath a boat, the boat's going to bobble, get hot here in the head. Commercial business, you use a steel helmet or a brass helmet, same purpose, okay? And it's also good for wrecks, same purpose, okay? So I read this up myself.
What does DAN stand for?
Divers Alert Network. It's a group of physicians that are trained in undersea medicine. Okay, like hyperbaric chambers, you know. Michael Jackson used to sleep in one because it does have 7 benefits. One is oxygenation. So if you have poor circulation, rheumatism, you name it, if you have diabetic conditions, it helps in that. So there's, Ken Hospital has 3 of them. And they're mainly, 90% is not for divers, 90% of it is for patients with skin diseases, circulation diseases, that's where they use them at. And Dan keeps track of every operating decompression chamber in the United States. So if one is out, they tell the doctor's physician they can send the patient somewhere else, especially if it's an emergency. Sometimes the Navy will let you use their decompression chamber, which is in Groton, Connecticut, but that's super rare because they have their own issues. Okay? So I was a member of the Undersea Society for a while, paying dues, I get their magazines, medical magazines. Okay, so that's what that is. And keep asking questions.
Have you had to use a hyperbaric chamber?
No, I've been in one, but I've never had to use it
Good, good.
and never wanted.
Right.
Okay? So, anybody guess where this is at?
White sand.
So that's it. See, you can see the reflective light? That's what enhances the light. Okay, that's Australia. It's called a cod hole, right? And those are basically,
Which coast in Australia?
it's off of Cairns. It's a Great Barrier Reef, eastern coast. They did half the Great Barrier Reef on a liveaboard. It's great. We did up to 6 or 7 dives a day. It
How long
was,
did you get to do the reef? How long
we were
was-
there over a week and a half. We did half the Great Barrier Reef.
Wow.
Okay, the one on the right,
That looks like here.
Easy rider.
that's North Carolina. On the ship, they use motorcycles and bicycles because they're so long to ride on. And we went down with the ship.
Wow.
They call that Wreck Alley between New Jersey and North Carolina. During World War II, the Navy dynamited all those wrecks because they didn't want a submarine hiding in the wreckage of a ship. You can bring the submarine close to a wreck, and when you do a sonar profile, the sonar cannot detect the difference between the shipwreck and the submarine. So the Navy blew up everything along the coast that was close to the shore where they could potentially hide.
Wow.
So out here in Rhode Island Sound, there are a lot of blown up ships and a lot of ordnance that didn't blow up. On the U-boat that's out there, the U-boat came in World War II before the hostilities started, and the captain wanted to go to the Navy War College, and the captain of the War College thought about it, a German national on a German submarine wanting to come to the Navy base. But it was before the hostilities, and he decided, I'll just meet him out in the bay. At the conclusion of the World War II, that same captain sunk the ship called the Black Point, it was a Coiler. And we laid everything possible onto that submarine where it lays now in the grave. The propulsion system used to be at Castle Hill with 2 propellers, brass. Some of the human remains are in the common cemetery in Newport. And the German delegation that goes to the War College and the Germans that come here, they pay homage to those soldiers. And there's still torpedoes in the tubes on it.
Wow.
So it's listed as a hazard. You'll see it on the naval charts as a hazard.
They can't blow that up.
It's in the, well, first it's any warship is considered part of that country.
Wow.
So you cannot touch it,
Even if it's dangerous?
even if it's dangerous.
Wow.
It lies where it lies. It lies where it lies, which comes into another story in the Spanish Armada off of South America, where a ship of gold was found in very deep water. They identified it, and someone gave a presentation over at
Salve.
not Salve, over at the church on by the park, Eisenhower Park. They did it. They actually did the reverse readings of the navigational information to help find the ship. And of course, once they knew there was gold on it, every country claimed on it. So that's where that story. But they are mining it now. They finally started the process. But it's the sovereignty of that nation that is their home territory. So you cannot touch it without the delegation. Kathy Abbas was given by the German government permission to watch that ship. She was the holder of that ship.
Where did they finally find it?
Oh, it's off Block Island. They know where it
Oh, it's
was.
here.
Yes.
Oh.
It's 100. You can reach the keel, the bottom of the ship, at 130 feet. You can reach what's called a sail at 90 feet.
Wow.
But it's well marked. Everybody knows where it is. And you can penetrate it, though. I wouldn't do it. I did a little bit of it once. This is Captain, what's that show with the
Cook.
fish? Yeah, this is the poisonous symbiotic relationship with the fish. That was a Disney movie. That's in the Bahamas. Let's see. Now this is where is this at? What do you see? What's the things on the left?
Horseshoe crab.
Yes, horseshoe crabs. You see two of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're mating.
they're mating right now.
Right. The full moon
The
is
full
when they
moon.
mate. And horseshoe crabs are very important because their blood, it's blue blood, is used in the medical field for testing contamination of surgical instruments. So they milk them and then supposedly put them back alive. They also are very important in the cycle of birds that fly up the coast to the Arctic. They eat their eggs. So those two have a relationship. So if you take off the horseshoe crabs, you kill the birds.
Wow.
Are there?
Which part of the U.S. coastline do you find horseshoe crabs? 'Cause
East Coast, all the way down.
all the way
Yes,
down?
yes.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
And right now they're mating.
They're right
I
on
saw
the
them
way.
the other day, they're doing it.
Right,
It's
so
full
off
moon.
of Van Zandt Pier, there's an invasive plant that you see on the right.
Are they? I'm trying to think of the word. When I was a child, we live in Pennsylvania, and we'd go to the Jersey Shore all the time, and
Yep.
they were horseshoe crabs
And
up on the
did you tell a
beach
story
all
about
the
the tail
time.
going up and you
But
sticking your foot
are
on
they
Oh,
just not
That's false.
smaller quantities now? I mean, are they?
Yes, because
I
they've been
can't
killed
think of
off.
the word.
They've been killed off because the myth that parents, like my parents used to tell it, they'll stick their needle in your foot,
No, they
so
don't.
kill them.
We used to take home their shell. I mean,
Right.
whatever. But I don't see them anymore. So I
Right,
didn't know if
'cause
they were
we
decreasing.
purposely killed them,
They've been depleted.
yeah,
It's because of their blood, we really need them.
right, and that's the other reason. Yeah, in
Their blue
Massachusetts,
blood.
there's a special company that takes their blood. So this is a moon jellyfish that's dying. This is at the end of the Gulf Stream when, after October, the temperatures start dropping and they die off. All those tropical fish have nowhere to go, so they die off. That's what they look like. So this is where?
Australia.
Australia. This is the cod hole. So Australia has about 140 feet of visibility. This was done with a wide angle camera, something like that, but much smaller, because the ship only had so much room. Okay? So the water temperature in that area is around 80 degrees. The air temperature was like 90, and it had like 90% humidity. Okay? So this is some of the volunteer stuff we did, Save the Bay, Oceanconservatory. We go around, they had beach captains. I had Jamestown at one time, then I had Kings Beach, and we collect and measure trash, and that's just some of the things. And divers like to do this because they want a clean beach like everybody else, because that stuff goes out into the water. We don't want that floating in our water. It's dangerous, like fishing line, you can get tangled
That
in it.
nylon rope, it never
Yes,
disintegrates.
It never
ever.
disintegrates. So divers always have a hand in cleaning beaches. We teach them in class. You should not leave anything on the beach. You know, fish, bait boxes, all that. Pick all that stuff up, and make sure nothing's in the water, because you won't have clean water to dive in. So it helps you if you help the environment. So I've always been involved in environmental groups. Okay, it's very important.
And he brings his own tools.
Yep,
too.
bring my own tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we at?
Scallops, it's gonna be around here.
Yes, that's actually Fort Adams, a boat ramp. Lots of scallops there. Okay, but you just heard about the pollution. Yeah, usually it used to be in the Providence Journal, they would list the polluted beaches and rivers, but you can go to the DEM website and it'll tell you all the same information. They'll tell you about the ponds too, because they sample this every year, every week, whether it's winter or summer, they do this.
They dumped all that raw sewage, what, 2 days ago?
Yeah, yeah. So that affects everything,
Yeah, it
food,
comes down
everything,
here.
visibility. And on the left,
is that you?
that's a student actually. We're doing a deep dive, and that's Rhode Island. Okay, so the water's pretty clear there.
It is.
We're in about 50 feet of water at Fort Adams.
That's very clear for us.
Yeah. It's the thing about the visibility here. Right now is really good. It'll be good to about mid-May. The temperatures in the seawater, it goes from about 38 degrees in February, the coldest, to 78 around September. That's the range of temperatures, but it's not consistent, and if we have a storm, it affects the visibility. It makes the water turbulent. Okay? So, where's this?
That's here.
It's actually Cape Cod.
Yeah, sunfish?
No, it's a monkfish.
Monkfish.
And I have some postcards for $2 if you're interested in some of these postcards. Okay, so that's a monkfish. They were in the Providence Journal just recently because they're making different methods of cooking them.
Yeah.
And the unscrupulous retailer who sells stuff they used to use a cookie cutter, cut into the wings and try to sell off as scallops.
Oh,
So
But
if
they're
you don't
going to
know
make
any better,
they're going to make it part of the children's healthy food. They're putting monkfish in the new school system food.
Yep.
I saw that.
yep, it's a very good fish. They actually died out for a while because they feed off the bottom, and when you have draggers, they have these big barn doors, oak doors, that keep the nets open, they take everything. It's called bycatch. So they catch stuff that they don't want, but it's how the net is. It's all worked out between governments and scientists to try to prevent that. But that's why we were replanting eelgrass, because they take all that up. Eelgrass is like the grass on your lawn, but it grows underwater. It provides a habitat for fish to hide in, especially the tropical fish, because they're used to coral. Now they gotta find something to hide because they're juvenile, they're small, and someone's gonna eat them. So they like to hide somewhere. So the
And the
eelgrass
turtles.
provides that cover.
Are they killing the turtles with that too?
Yeah, they're killing
Yeah.
like everything.
Is monkfish a sustainable fish to eat? Like if you.
Well, a juvenile becomes an adult eventually.
They're serving it for the children's schools. It's absolutely sustainable
Right.
there.
Right.
Okay.
So this is a mapped out wreck. This is one of the things I teach, underwater archaeology. They map it out. RIMAP does the same thing. They map out the wrecks in a methodical way so you know what's what, using the survey lines and all this type of technology to map it. So this is one that's mapped out. And the maps that the wrecks that are protected are historic wrecks, noted historic. We actually have an underwater archaeologist. I'm trying to think of her name. She worked with RIMAP. And a good friend of mine I learned diving from, Dave Robinson. He worked in the state of Rhode Island. Now he's working as a state underwater archaeology in Massachusetts. He went to Texas A&M for that advanced training. He was one of my trainers when I was becoming an instructor. So there's your monkfish again. Oh, I'm going backwards. All right. So this is a place-it card. It's a plastic card. I used to make them out of the side of a milk carton and draw my different species so I could do it. You could buy these for, a nominal price, but you could identify the fish. So some of this
That's
is,
great.
especially when I used to give talks at the New England Aquarium Dive Club, I wasn't a big fish identifier, but most of the people in that dive club were. So when I would show a fish picture, what is that? And if I couldn't answer correctly, there would be someone in the audience who would correct me. So I said, well, it's up to you guys to tell me what it is. I just take the pictures. So this is a map of St. Martin's. It shows the parks and stuff like this.
In there.
The topography, which is important to a diver, and what's seen in different areas. Let's see. You know where this is? Yes. So that's St. Martin's.
Yeah.
So on the right is myrtle turtle. It's a regular turtle that comes up from the depths, and he greets divers. The dive instructor, Greg, has been diving there for most of his diving career, and he actually has names for all the creatures that he comes across. And on the left is a puffer fish. We do get them. A couple of years ago I was saltwater fishing out on out by the Mount Hope Bridge, and that's all I was catching is puffer fishes and stuff.
Yeah, I keep
I'm looking
have
for a
them
striped
here.
bass, not puffer fish.
How do we have puffer fish here? It's so weird.
We have a native species and we have a tropical species that come in. So there's a difference. And here we're at Fort Lauderdale. It also has a protected reef. On the left is a reef shark. I think that's a white tip. It's usually by the dorsal fin. And on the right is a wreck. The dive master took me to this. I was the only one on it, and that's a giant Goliath grouper.
Huge.
About
Bigger than
800,
you.
about 800 pounds, about 8 feet long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Is that St. Martin?
No, that's Fort Lauderdale.
Fort
They have-
Lauderdale.
They have a protected reef there. Yep. And on the left, where are we at?
Going up.
Okay, that's again Fort Lauderdale. We're going down on the wreck. You usually hold on to a line and follow it to the wreck. That's how you safely dive that. You can also, for emergency purpose, attach to that, do decompression if you need to do that, if you stayed longer than you're supposed to. Okay, on the right,
That's here with the rock.
yep, that's here. That's Fort Ritherell, and about 48 feet of seawater. So we have, talking about reefs, you have fringing reefs,
Mm.
we have barrier reefs, and that's what I wanted to show you about reefs. So this is a diver propulsion. This is the vehicle I took across halfway to Jamestown. I ran out of juice. There's some other pictures in here. I did trial runs, just like they say, a manufacturer will say, oh, this car does 0 to 60 in so many miles an hour, and they say it's with this load, like 4 people and this. Well, they tell you the same thing with this vehicle, but I, as an engineer, don't believe that, so I do a test run. So I did a test run with 1 tank, 2 tanks, 3 tanks, to see what the drag was, to see what the load was, because I wanted to make this journey across the bay. I had to have enough air to do that. So inside here we'll have all the runs I did, and I did it in different color pencils. So what you see on the left is me going out, and then current pulling me. It's a 4 to 5 knot current in Narragansett Bay. So I made several attempts, I got halfway, got dragged, and then I did another one and got dragged. So that's the current. This is the bottom profile. So I'm going out and I start going deeper. And then I reach a depth and then I come up. I don't anticipate going more than 50 feet. The channel is as deep in that area, about 250 feet. So there's actually a cement ship that's bowed down. They built at where Save the Bay's headquarters are in Upper Providence. You can still see the shipyard that was used in World War II to build concrete ship. It was to save steel. So they built ships of concrete. On its maiden voyage, it went out and hit another ship, and it sunk. It's right in the middle of the channel. So people who explore the Andrew Doria, which it starts when you can touch it at 180 feet, they drill on this ship because it's similar. It's off of Moffat's Vineyard, similar currents. The only thing is you cannot leave a ship in the middle of the channel. The Coast Guard will arrest you because you're blocking the channel. So they sneak dive it. And it's the same kind of conditions. High current, a lot of ship traffic. So it's a drill without the expense. When you go out to Moffat's Vineyard, it's an overnight cruise on a boat specific for that kind of dive. It's considered the Mount Everest of diving. So everybody wants to do it.
Wow.
There's a book out on that. A father and son died on it. It's killed a lot of divers.
Strong current all the time.
It's not all the current, it's misjudgment.
Yeah.
Misjudgment kills more divers than anything else. There's a statistic from Divers Alert Network out of North Carolina. When they used to do this, University of Rhode Island used to do diver death certificates, and then Dan took over for that statistics, and they no longer do it now because of the cost. They're a nonprofit. And the 2 ways divers traditionally die is they run out of air because they're not watching their gas gauge. I ran out of gas the other day. I knew I was low, and I got over to Redwood Library to go read. I thought I should go to the gas station first. But then I said, I'm just going to the library. I have enough to get down to the gas station. It died right at Redwood Library. And that's the first time in this car that I had to get gas. My girlfriend came by and picked me up and got gas. And so I should have did that first. But I had to go in and read my free newspapers, as the Portsmouth librarian tells me. You come in for free newspapers. Well, I do donate. And they had a baby grand there. What's the famous brand? Steinway. And I saw it sitting there, and I said, "Oh, I've been learning to play keyboards." and the librarian was there, and he kind of looked at me, and I opened up the piece to get to the keys, and I started playing. And some women from New York came in, and I'm talking to him. It's kind of like the guy that does IRI, Rhode Island commercial. He's playing the piano, it's moving, and I'm talking to somebody.
That's cool.
And then the gentleman said, "Just keep it down. It's okay. You know, you can play it." I said, "Oh, okay." But it was nice to play.
Where's that, Redwood?
Yeah, Redwood Library.
Yeah.
So she came and I got gas, learned my lesson. So this underwater vehicle, the company's no longer alive. They were in Florida, then they moved to Canada, then they went out of business. It's a 2-person vehicle. It basically has, looks like a motorcycle. So you have 2 hand grips. I have my battery and other stuff, but I put a bunch of other stuff on there. I put what's called a lift bag. If this should fail, I want to recover it. So I have a bag like a balloon that can inflate with my regulator. I have a device here. This, wrong one. This nozzle, I can blow balloons. I can blow someone's hair. I can disconnect it and fill up a tire. I can blow bubbles into my face. I can clean off silt on a boat. Just a little flexible, so it does a lot of things.
But it's consuming the air you would need to
Yes,
breathe.
you have to figure all that in.
Right.
But if you're cleaning boats and stuff, it's very convenient, and you're not taking your regular out of your mouth to do the same thing, which is, it could be a safety hazard.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see, yeah.
Right, so
yeah.
that's what, and like I said, detaches pretty easily. Of course, it won't in demo.
I've seen divers come out of the water, like King's Beach with that too.
Yep, very useful. So I have all that on that vehicle, that's what these bands are for, to attach stuff to. And I actually had this fail in North Carolina on a wreck, at about 75 feet. It was an O-ring that I failed to check right here, and it became heavy with water. I used a lift bag to pull it up, and this was retail, $7,000.
Yeah.
Like I said, everything floods.
So when it fails, you're stranded. What do you do?
I have the lift bag.
That's what he carries
I
with him.
fill it with air.
Oh.
I had it attached here. I get my nozzle. As it goes up, it expands because of the laws of physics.
Yep.
Goes to the top. I have a reel, like a fishing reel, that I keep control of it. Goes up. I don't go with it
Oh, you
for
don't?
safety. No, for safety. If it does something weird, it's gonna take me with it. Everything I have is detachable. I still have a pension. I want to get at least another 30 years on my pension. So,
How do you fit two people?
well, we were getting to that. So those are the gauges. I have compasses. I have all this backup stuff like that because things fail. So you want to have two of everything. In caves, you want to have three of everything. Three of everything.
Yeah.
Two dive computers, a backup computer, backup air, because there is no gas station in a cave. Okay? See this T handle? T-bar? Motorcycle, you have the back seat strap. Diver propulsion, you have this. The person lays like that.
Okay.
You tow them.
So you're in the front and they're in the back,
I'm laying prone.
Yep.
And they're having their hands on that
like
bar.
a little tail.
How
Right.
long is this thing from tip to?
Probably 5.5 feet long. You see the short one out here. And it has variable speed. I have two lines here, I have it attached to my body. Boom.
That's what they've turned into now. They're just little.
No, they're bigger. This is for long distance. This could go 5 knots for about 4 miles.
That's long.
I need 2 miles and 2 miles back, 4 miles. With that current that I had, couldn't make it. But I already tested it. This is much shorter duration because of the battery. These are lithium ion. The funny thing is when this failed, it failed here. This, when I was trying to cross from Portsmouth, Ted's Beach to Tiverton, it failed along here. This is carbon fiber. Made in Germany. It's a long story. I'm a dealer for these, so I have to get the next generation. This retail about $2,400. So it flooded. So gone. Like I said, everything's a paperweight.
Oh my gosh, it floated
A
out.
lot of money. So explorers need a cash box. We'll pass it around.
You need one.
So is that the end of that one?
It's done.
It's-
Once the batteries are gone, everything corrodes.
It's done.
It's done. Gone. Same with that. That was lead acid. It's gone. It's the price of diving.
Excuse me.
Got my hand out. Yes.
You said about it being carbon. This
Fiber carbon.
The reason I'm asking is I have a potato peeler from
Yep.
when I was a child that's carbon. That
Yep.
thing is, the ones they make today are nothing like that. Because my husband, I said, he said it's carbon. So I guess what I'm saying is carbon is a very good, hardy,
Well, that's-
Yep. Fiber carbon. We were going to use one on a submarine. The issue of fiber carbon that we found, and I had a friend who has a master's degree in carbon fiber, an Aggie, and when it compresses under pressure, it gets harder. But when carbon, like carbon fiber bikes, anybody have a carbon fiber bike? The fork, when they made the carbon, make them very lightweight, they're very expensive, they explode when they fail.
Oh,
So that's what we found out. We were going to try to save money with all that steel and everything because we use a unique piece of steel. It's called HY, high yield 80. Then we went to high yield 100, and I can't tell you the other ones. So that's a special steel that the Navy and all military services, they basically, because of failures of submarine, the two that we had, the Thresher was one of them, we do cradle to grave work on them. And we know where that piece of ore came from. It's called subsafe. So we follow that mining area where that piece of ore comes from. The Navy traces, this is why it's so expensive. We trace that rock, whatever it is, steel, carbon, whatever, from where it's dug to where it's refined, to where it's machined, to where it's built. So we know the history of that piece of material. So if it fails, we try to find out where in that process it fails and we fix it. That's why it's so expensive, because we have all that paperwork. I can tell you, this is public knowledge. We had a woman from Electric Boat that was supposed to do inspections on the hull of the ship, right? They had some co-workers that were taking welding rods and putting it in between the sections of the hull. You're not supposed to do that, and filling it with a weld. Then we x-ray to make sure that weld is done correctly. She was just the QA person. She was just signing stuff.
Oh, no.
On 4 submarines, we found that on the first one, and we suspected the other ones, and all those had to be re-welded.
Wow.
All of them. You're talking about 130 men's life
Right.
on a $4 billion submarine that took like 6 years to build, and they're cutting corners by doing improper welds.
I hope she was found accountable.
Yes,
Good.
because there's paperwork.
Yeah.
There's all this paperwork. Her signature's on it, her signature's on this, signature's on that, supervised signature, all the QAs. That's why it's expensive. You're tracing everything so you can find the problem, because you don't want that to be a bigger problem. But we found it, and we had to re-weld everything. So that screwed up the schedule, it screwed up materials. And this is all public, so I can talk about that part of it. But that's why you want to do all that. That's why it's so important, because we lost the first sub because it was an improper weld. And the water flooded through that hole, and it became like like putting your finger in the dike, and it basically failed.
Yeah.
And we lost all those men, so we don't want that to happen again.
No.
So just like the space shuttle, when I was working on the project, I went out to Parker Seals in Utah. Their headquarters are in Connecticut. I went there. I had to go out to Salt Lake City just before the Olympics were out there, and I had to get Parker Seal to certify that the thing we were working on was correct, and they signed it. They had to sign it, or they wouldn't get paid. And they had to sponsor, the person responsible for that piece of project had to also sign that guaranteeing that that was what it was. So it was a big deal. And I was in the program office, my responsibility. We funded this, we want the right product, and we're gonna make sure we get the right product. That was my job, that was my responsibility. So I went out there and forced them to sign it, that this would not fail. So same thing, you wanna follow it, because lives depend on it. And a lot of money, and it costs a lot of labor to build something.
I remember Jacques Cousteau using things like that. What was he using? Because that wouldn't have been American.
What?
Jacques Cousteau used to use those.
Yes, he invented his own. He
Oh,
actually,
that's what I thought, yeah.
he invented the aqua
sun.
one. Him and an Italian person invented, I forget the Italian's name, but they invented what we know as scuba. They own the patent for they call it the aqua.
Aqualung.
Yeah,
His
that's their
son's
patent.
still doing it.
I've met all his family at either Heinz Convention Center, we used to have events there, or at various dive shows. I've met all of them. So that's a close-up of the trials I did. And now with computers and everything, it's much easier to track stuff. This is the one over Fort Withero. I did different patterns. You'll see I did different tanks, different directions, and found out what the optimum of conditions were for what I was going to do, because it's my life and I want my pension. And this is Fort Withero underwater. We mapped it using a device like this. We'd get 2 or 3 divers in a row, have a line, like a clothesline between us, and we'd hand signal by pulling the rope. 2 ropes go forward, 2 ropes go backwards, 5 pulls, emergency. And each person would score on this board the depth, if they were level, and the compass heading. And that's how we drew this. It took about like 20 dives to do this. So this is it's pretty true, the contours on the bottom. The U.S. Navy uses contour navigation, by the way, for the Trident submarine. So they not only, they're actually jam-proof, because they still use celestial navigation. You cannot jam celestial navigation. And the bottom, for the most part, the contours of our bottoms do not usually change. So between those two methods, they know where they are at any given time. They don't have to worry about GPS. GPS is like an auxiliary to them. But they know between the satellite, the stellar navigations, which have worked for millions of years, or thousands of years for humans, and then the bottom tells them exactly where they are. Okay, so we use kind of a similar method. So this is one of my students. This is what it looks like when it's at night. Good quality photograph. So where's this at?
Jamestown?
Yes. The one, no, excuse me, no. The one on the right is Kings Beach. We're replanting eelgrass. We had, I'm trying to think of her name, Winley Ferguson. She works on First Beach and Second Beach, putting the snow fences up. She works with habitats to pull out the fomites, the invasive, that plant that looks fuzzy, but it looks like it's cool. It's actually invasive. You want to get rid of it. So you have to actually pull them out by hand, by root. By between Rogers High School, that side road that takes you around the park, and you cut through.
Hazard Road.
She pulled all that, had people pull all that out by hand, all that invasive. Did a real good job. And she also helped with the dike work there. They had the dikes.
Yep.
She did that and got it corrected, so the flow was in there, and you get the proper exchange of
It's so
salt
healthy.
and fresh. Right, she's very instrumental in that. I've worked with her for years. I'm getting back to work with her because I'm retired now. Okay, the one on the left is shock diving in Rhode Island. A guy named, what's his name? Charlie. He used to be a Charleston firefighter. He's retired now. He goes out for tuna hunt. He's at the 35-foot boat, the snapper. And that's a shock cage on the left. He actually invented that. National Geographic was the first one to do that, shock tagging. Charlie Donovan, that's him. So he invented this shock cage. It has an escape hatch up on top. And to the right was his invention. It's called a playpen. So if you're a snorkeler and you're not a diver, you can stay on that styrofoam float with the little piece around, and you just look between those gauges, and when the sharks are in that area, you can look at them and take pictures. So he invented all that stuff.
Is he still alive?
Yes,
Cool.
yes. He's happily retired, and he's fishing all the time when he can.
Good for him.
So that's the shock cage on the left. This is a good friend of mine, no longer dives. He had an ear problem. He actually taught me how to become an instructor. That's Bob. And he has an underwater video housing, which was basically a PVC tube in the early days, and that's in the Bahamas, in the Grand Bahamas. No, that's in Freeport, Bahamas. We were diving on a wreck called Fields Wreck. It's a very famous wreck, put down purposely. It's right on the edge of the abyss wall that goes down 4,000 feet. So this is me teaching in either the YMCA pool or that's the Boys Club pool. So that's a typical class. Okay, where this at?
Oh, I just wanted to ask a question.
Yep.
You were talking about your friend there in the previous picture that had hearing problem.
Yep.
What does it do to your ear to be in
See
the
that
water
diagram
that
over here?
low?
That's why I brought this. This is Divers Alert Network. There's specialist doctors that charge you more than the other doctors. And this explains all about the barotrauma that you're talking about.
Okay.
Barotrauma, inner ear, outer ear. If you want care to look at this later, explain all that.
Okay,
It's well mapped out.
all right.
It's basically you want to equalize properly, just like in a plane. You don't want to do it as you're already in the air. You want to start slowly so it doesn't become a harder area for you to equalize those sinuses. The sinuses I was talking about, actually we're in our Tai Chi class, he teaches us how to clean our sinuses. Very easy method, right? So you don't want that blockage, that sinus blockage. That's what causes that imbalance in your ear. Okay, but this is all the medical stuff by these specialist doctors. They used to put out a monthly letter on anything medical that deals with the underwater world. So this is all more detailed than you probably want to know.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
But it's common in flights and if you're hiking up high mountains, but you want to start right at the beginning. You don't want to, we equalize right at the surface of the water in the pool, because even in the pool, 0 feet, it's actually, if you look at a pressure gauge, it says 0, but it's actually 14.7. But to make it unconfusing, the engineers decided to make it 0, but it's actually 14.7 right now. When you go when you go 33 feet, That's a doubling of the atmosphere. So it's 14.7 plus another 14.7. So that's 28 psi that's working on your body. Your tank has to make up for that pressure. So it demands, through a regulator called a demand regulator, it makes up for that 28 pounds of pressure going into your body. It pushes it out of your body. So you're equalized. And it has to keep doing that with every depth.
Wow.
And that leads to consuming more air because you have to compensate for that. So that regulator that Jacques Cousteau invented does that.
And you're saying some of that pressure goes to your ear, goes up to your ear?
You have a sinus cavity
Think about
that's
when
full
you
of
fly.
air.
When you fly, you've got to clear
Oh.
stuff.
You have your sinus cavity, which is here, 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 and here. That's air
Okay.
when there's not fluid in it. The fluid is to protect you from microbes and things getting in your little here in your ear. That's in your nose. That catches all those. It filters all that stuff trying to get into your body. Your sinuses have fluid in it to kill all those things that are not good for your body. And then when that fluid comes out, you have air left in those pockets.
Okay.
That air is being compressed. That's why you feel the pressure on your face. You can also get mask squeeze, very common. If you don't equalize, because you have air in your mask, the pressure against your mask is forcing it against your face. It pressures those sinuses, and you get what's called a mask squeeze. So it looks like someone punched them in the nose.
Oh.
So mask squeeze,
Okay.
because they didn't equalize. It happens, generally we try to teach students way in the beginning, always equalize. Do it at the surface where it's less pressure, and as you go down, you keep doing it, and you won't sinus that. You can also wiggle it, and you squeeze it. There's 3 ways to clear it. Okay, but you do it right at the surface. Okay?
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's the cod hole on the right, and on the left is actually the cod hole too, and that's the camera I use. I had another person, my roommate, take a picture of my camera of me, because I have very few pictures of me, selfies on the wall. Yes.
Big grouper.
Yes. He's about as big as the student.
Wow.
Yes.
Bahamas?
He looks
This
like
is Australia. It's
Australia.
called the cod hole. They call them cod.
Cod?
Yes. Just like if you go to Maryland, they don't call it a blackfish, they call it a cod. They give it a different name, common name. Yeah. So there's me. That's my action against a shark. I have the billy club. You hit him on the nose. That's what that is. That's off Rhode Island. And the left is a group of Seacon, Southeast Connecticut divers. And that's diving on a wreck, and they put their flag out. Okay? So that's Rhode Island. We're on a wreck. And on the right, it's a shark. That's off Block Island. Okay? On the right, where do you think we're at?
I love the shark with the lunch.
On the right, on the right. Okay, that's St. Martin's. They have a protected reef. They sank all kind of disused planes, trains, automobiles, so you can dive on them in a safe environment. In Pennsylvania, there's a quarry that you can dive, and it has a full jetliner in it, and it has a floating pier at different levels submerged, so you can safely train somebody at 80 feet on a level deck that's not going to blow up sand, so you can train them. When I do my rebreather, I'll probably be going down to 300 feet. It's going to be in a quarry called 40 fathoms. It goes down to like 600 feet. People drill for deep dives there, and it's a safe environment because you land on a platform, so you can adjust equipment. There's air there in case there's a situation. It's done in a very controlled environment, so you go down in stages. Okay?
How long does it take you for 300 feet and go down?
You can go down as fast as you can equalize. It's
Which-
coming up, that's the issue.
But you gotta come up slow.
Very
to
slow.
decompress.
Yeah, there's a rule for that.
So,
There's no rule.
just
But
a
your computer
guesstimate,
will tell you that.
like an hour?
It depends on what you're doing and how long you're down and what kind of
Right.
gas you have. Gas makes a big difference. Okay, and so on the right is a joke, left is a joke, is East Launch or Iron, that's St. Mark's.
That's what made me laugh. That's what I thought. Same with this made me laugh. I thought that might have been Block Island.
So here we have on the left, far left, that's planting eelgrass. Okay, the middle is here in Rhode Island, and the right is on that wreck where that flooded. See the little white thing underneath the vehicle? That's my lift bag.
Okay.
See it?
Mm-hmm.
Go back. Look. Look. So, see how this is wrapped with bungee cord. And that's a company in Davis, Rhode Island that makes these. They make the best lift bags in the world. The US Navy uses them. They use them on the landing of the Orion ship. They use his bags, these lift bags. They're certified. So this is wrapped around with bungee cord, the surgical tubing, and then it's connected to the gear band. And then I pull it out and let it go. This is on a wreck in North Carolina.
Okay.
So temperatures are around 70 plus degrees, and there's a lot of nurse shocks on this wreck. That's why people like to do this. The North Carolina area has, below a certain point in North Carolina, you have a tropical water, and above a certain point, you have our water that we're used to. So it has two different environmentals within a few miles.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
there are reefs that go down as far as Georgia, from North Carolina down. There are reefs, fringe reefs. So you can follow the reefs. Okay? I was really pissed too. That was the second trip I did with that, and poof, done.
Aw.
Yep. It's like, honey, did you buy more tools? Yeah, I got some more dive equipment.
This is so interesting because I didn't know there was any diving going on at all on this island.
Oh, yeah.
I had no
We have the
idea.
most wrecks, we
I
have
had
the
no
most, we have all types of fish.
Yes, so
The
much.
good thing about the Northeast is most of the ugly fish you can eat. You go to the Caribbean, all those pretty fish you can't eat.
No, you
Sea
don't.
cobra, they have all these poisons and stuff.
They
in
do.
them. Yeah,
It's,
so they're sleeping beauties. So on the left, we penetrating a wreck. This wreck was purposely sunk. You can see the big cutout, the big square on the corner there. That's purposely cut out for divers to escape.
Wow.
So this is Fort Lauderdale actually, and coming out of the engine room. So they take all the doors off. They do this whole process. They take all the fluids and liquids off. They make it as clean as possible, and it becomes, as you see, there's stuff growing on it. It becomes an artificial reef.
I watched them blow one up in Pensacola,
Yep.
a big aircraft carrier, I think, and they
Yep.
made it reef.
There's from the Jamestown Bridge, the state has never disclosed it, the exact location, but they try to make an artificial reef off a cliff wall. I know where it is, but they
Is it
never
working?
advertised it. The problem with artificial reefs in New England and New York and New Jersey, where they take subway trains and sink them, is one species tends to habitat it.
Oh,
So fishermen know that. They go, oh, this wreck has blackfish.
okay.
Go on the stock market. What's blackfish doing? Oh, it's doing good. Get it, and they
Fish.
wipe out everything.
Ah,
That's how the market works, and how the sonar works. Fish have a air bladder. I don't know if you knew that. If you anybody ever clean a fish, and there's that bladder in there.
Wow.
The air bladder expands and contracts. That's what helps them float. The characteristics of that air bladder, when you take a sonar ping and you hit it, that's a grouper. They know.
wow.
And they have a color screen, and the Navy's it does this. I can't tell you all details, but we do a similar thing where it's color coded. We know what that is.
Wow.
We proofed it. In other words, we guaranteed what we got for the signal is exactly what we see. So we know. In Dr. Abbas's world, it's called ground proofing. You do a sonar on the bottom, which he was doing, checking out what's on the wrecks out here, and you have someone dive on it and prove that is what it is. And you color code mark it. So every time you go by, they go, oh, that's that. That's
Do the
called ground
fishermen
proofing.
have it too?
Yes.
So they use it to get
They
the
call the
fish.
market, what's the price of tuna?
Yep.
The spot
And
market
that's
for
not-
seafood. Oh, okay, it's tuna, not this. Okay, we'll go after that if you have the right fishing gear.
Yep.
And they wipe everything out.
They do.
It's business. Because when I was taught way back environmental stuff in like elementary, oh, the ocean is boundless.
Yeah.
You can fish forever. It'll self-clean. That's what they taught us.
Yeah.
Well, we found out that's not quite true.
No, it's not.
So
Were you aware back then, when you dove here all your life? I never knew it, but I knew they were here. That we are in the perimeter of the Great White Nursery from Montauk to Block
yes,
Island
and I
here.
knew some of that.
They don't tell the tourists this,
Right,
but they're
right.
here.
Right. So on the left is Kings Beach. We're replanting eelgrass, and on the right, I don't know what I'm doing.
You're waving.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like.
Murky.
So visibility could be 0 off of Block Island it'll be 40 feet, and typically it's 15. So for photography, you use the 1/3 rule. If you see 100 feet underwater, 1/3 of it is photographical. So 30 feet. So when you go to the Great Barrier Reef, it's 140 feet, you can shoot reliably 1/3 of that. That's the rule. For cave diving, for like air consumption, use the 1/3 rule. So if you have, say, 330 pounds of air on an 80 cube tank, that's a 50 cube tank, then you use 1/3 in, 1/3 out, and 1/3 reserve. That was learned by trial and error. A lot of people died. The guy out front of that picture that we have that magazine of, he wrote the book, literally, Cave Diving, based on, unfortunately, accidents and what not to do. That's how that was done. The commercial one, like Patty diving, they used diving techniques that the Navy used. They adopted them for recreational diving. But cave diving actually wrote the book on that, and it was based on years of people diving and what works and what it was trial and error. Trial and error. You know, you look at that book, and a lot of people died to get it right. So this is the Mule Bond in Fort Adams, where the boat ramp is, taking some Navy students out to one diving. The one on the right is Trinidad. We came back from the Panama Canal, and we came back from Brazil, and I wanted to dive, and I had never dove in Trinidad, so my girlfriend arranged for another instructor to take me diving, and we did. And he dove on what's called the Navy Pier. The Navy has a pier in Trinidad. It's no longer active, but they still own agreements with Trinidad, and during the beginning of the Venezuelan situation, the Navy was all in that area anchoring ships. We actually saw the buildup. We went to Aruba, we went to a land cave, and the Air Force, Joint Air Force Coast Guard base, that's also a commercial airline, on the cave. It was a couple hundred feet off. We could see everything being staged, and you could see the mountains of Venezuela. So, it was, we were coming down from the Amazon. We were off, we're going down there, we were off French New Guinea. That's they have a big launch site there. We weren't aware of the details, but we were given a naval safety warning, which they do for air travel too, that there was a safety zone around that area. We didn't know why. The captain didn't explain at first why, and we thought, oh, we're going in, right? The Air Force or somebody going, so they cleared all the airspace. Nobody can fly in that airspace but military. And it turned out they were launching a rocket. We found out the next day, and we got to see it. The South Koreans launched a satellite communication. We saw it, and we saw the booster rocket for like 2 hours. It was pretty cool. And then that night, we had a meteorite strike for like 8 hours. So we went to the upper deck, laid down on those nice chairs, looked up, and saw tons and tons of
So pretty.
star stuff. So how about this one? Riding a bicycle this time underwater. This is also North Carolina. So it gives you an idea. And you see this snowflake material?
Yeah.
That's the plankton and zooplankton. When a flashlight hits it or a strobe light hits it, it reflects those particles back. That's what you do not want in a professional photograph.
Right.
So it's very difficult. You have to angle your light just properly. It's like the pink eyes when digital cameras first came out. You had to try to figure a way of getting rid of that. Well, they eventually did for this, but that's what it looks like. So, guess where we arrived?
Tahiti or somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, French Polynesia. We went to several places in French Polynesia, and I dove every bit of it. And there's a place in Regaruler. I can't tell you what it is, but you have to go in the men's and women's bathroom, and you'll see something there. So we're not allowed to tell you what's there. So if you go, you'll be able to see that. These over-the-water huts, they're actually invented by a guy from San Diego, and the French Polynesians adopted it. We were staying at a Hilton resort, and where you see me diving, I'm underneath where the center table would be in your home. So we just moved that, and there's a glass window there, and my girlfriend could look down and see me. And in that area, you have a constant current. It's unique to French Polynesia. There's always a current coming in. It's very unique to that area. So when you swim out, and you always, by the way, want to swim into a current coming in. Same with a tide, there's a difference. You have high and low tide, and you have current. They're two different things, like voltage on your outlet, and then you have the current. It's the current that kills you, not the voltage. So a battery, little 9-volt battery can kill you if your body resistance is low. So same thing, you want to dive in the incoming current and an incoming tide, but this has a constant incoming current. So you swim out against it and it pulls you right back. So it's great. You get tired, it just drifts back.
Oh. You
So-
probably said it, but what's in those tents back there?
Those are living quarters.
It's
Oh, that's
reset.
what that, okay.
So I do have pictures of inside. I don't have it in here.
They're like little hotels.
Yeah, they're little rooms, and it's the first time I was in a quad shower. You got blasted every head, toe, side, back,
Oh.
feet. And all you had to do is step off the back porch and you're in
Okay.
the water.
Okay.
And then because the French have a unique system, they value civil servants. They want civil service jobs, not corporate jobs, because you could retire at 25 years, say a teacher, right? You retired, and then you can go to Tahiti, be a Tahiti Airlines. They're the ones that fly out, or American in our case, are the ones that fly to Tahiti, and you stay for a couple of years in constant 90 degrees, never changes. February, March, it's 90 degrees every day,
Whoa.
except it does drop. Like Hawaii, it drops to like maybe 80 degrees.
Wow.
It's 100% humidity. So when you get off the plane, they mist you, and once you get out of the mist, you need another bath. And if you like black pearls, ladies, that's the place to go. That's the place to go. We just did the Panama Canal, Guatemala, if you want jade, and Colombia if you want emeralds. So
Wow.
we met a woman from Chicago. She said she came here for a short trip, 2 weeks. She's been there 40 years.
Wow.
And their rum in Guatemala is made with sugar cane. There's only 3 countries that make it with sugar cane. What a difference. Much better than molasses.
Yeah, Jamaica, I remember when I was in Jamaica, it was out of the sugar cane. I used to
Yeah.
watch them cut it and
Yeah.
burn it.
In Australia, they take a squeezer and it's sugar cane. Australia has 4 growing seasons. So they cut the sugar cane and a few months later it's up again. And the kookaburra looks like Ollie, the crows. They have those big beaks. They sit on the telephone lines. They wait for the farmers to cut the sugar cane, and then all the snakes and rats that are in there, they come down and eat it. So they know when the farmers are harvest because they're ready to get a meal. And then a couple months later they grow again. Another couple months they grow again, and another couple months they grow. That's the rainforest of Cairns where I was at.
Wow.
So the only thing Cairns has, it has either constant sun or 6 months of flood. That's it. Okay, so we're going to show you a little video. I think I can see how this works. This is very shallow water. I saw a ringed octopus, which is very rare, but I didn't actually catch it on video. So I was pissed, but I saw a very rare creature. But this is the typical waters.
How deep is this?
It's very shallow. See the waves?
Wow.
Like 10 feet.
So clean.
Wow.
Yep, but it's barren,
Yeah,
so less sea life.
that's not good.
The ringed octopus is very poisonous, by the way. And I was in there in October, just before the little teeny jellyfish
Stingers.
that can kill you,
Yeah.
especially me, because I'm allergic to bee stings, that would kill me. And they try to net them out, can't net them out.
Wow.
So I was there at the right time.
Wow.
But I didn't get the ringed octopus on tape. I was mad.
That's up in Queensland, right?
Yes.
That's my mom went. She talking about the stingers. They were
Yeah.
poisonous. Couldn't go in the water.
They're also in South Australia.
Where is everybody?
I have a friend from Adelaide, South
That's where
Australia.
I'm from.
Yeah,
Adelaide.
yeah.
Oh,
So I was actually planning a trip to Australia, and I was going to do the East Coast all the way up to Snake Island in Perth, and then I was going to go up to Nangalo, the famous reef where the U.S. Navy had a base there. It's got huge sharks and fishes and everything, but I had the money, and then it just disappeared with car, roof, a bunch of things. So it's fleeting.
Well, I was going to Australia last November in the government when the government was down.
Yeah.
I spent 5 days in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was my Australian visit.
Yeah.
oh.
So, in summary, New England diving varies with water temperature, 32 to 78, 76. It varies weather and wind dependent. So it's not consistent like the Caribbean. They have pretty constant weather. So that's what affects the turbidity, the visibility. The Gulf Stream brings in the spring, it ends in the fall. It brings in the tropical fish. I forgot to bring my Newport Daily News and a few other newspapers at the Jamestown that show you pictures of tropical fish. Yes.
Yeah, while you're there, I wanted to ask you, I have a little nautical radio that I tune into sometimes.
NOAA?
I don't know
It's a
what
NOAA radio. That's a NOAA radio.
it is, but they gave it to us a long time ago because we lived near dams in the Carolinas.
Yep, yep.
So everybody had one of
I went
those.
to school in North Carolina, Greensboro.
Okay, I'm from Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they use the word sound a lot.
What?
Sound, the word sound.
Rhode Island Sound.
What does that mean?
Rhode Island Sound is just what they call that body of water.
Oh,
We have Narragansett Bay and we have Rhode Island Sound. Rhode Island Sound covers this whole a wider area.
well, that's what they mean?
Yes.
Okay,
Rhode Island
I
Sound.
brought the radio here.
Yeah, Rhode Island
So-
Sound.
oh,
Yeah.
That just means any water.
But you have
area.
Newport
Yeah.
Harbor, you have Narragansett Bay, that
Yeah.
includes everything up,
Oh,
and you have Rhode Island Sound, which is outside the channel. That's that whole area called Rhode Island Sound.
oh, it's an area. Okay.
Yeah, it's an area.
Okay, I just didn't know what that
Yep.
word meant.
It's like our
Thank
whole
you.
coastline, right?
Yeah, it's the whole coastline.
Okay.
Like Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Oh,
It covers inland of Long Island Sound and outward of Long Island Sound.
oh. I've never heard that word before.
Yes,
Except on the.
don't know where it comes from. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Is
Oh,
there
yeah,
anything else? So come around with any quick questions before you go. Like I said, the dive maps. I have some of my log books. You can look at some of the equipment. If you have any questions, I can still figure out how to eject this
Okay.
without destroying the.
Good stuff for sale.